to Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia, where we are everything her, helping, elevating, and redefining our sister friend tribe, bringing women's stories and voices to the mic. I am, in fact, your girl Tamekia. Be sure to stay connected with me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification button so you'll be notified when we are on. Today's episode, we are going to talk about the gift of forgiving. Yes, the gift of forgiveness. But before we jump into the episode, let me share this week's affirmation. Grab pen, paper, so you can share it with your sister friend, put it in your affirmation box, or just post it somewhere. We ready? Let's get into it. Today's affirmation: I choose me. I forgive me. I forgive myself for self sabotaging, not trusting myself or my God given gifts. I forgive myself for believing what others say versus what God says and has ordained. I forgive myself for not trusting the Spirit in me. Most importantly, I forgive myself for not loving and putting myself first, which is why I unapologetically choose me. That is your affirmation for the week. Be sure to share it with a sister friend. So come on in the room, come in the room, come in the room, come in the room as we talk about the gift of forgiveness and why we should operate in the spirit of forgiveness, and the importance of it, right? So typically when we talk about forgiveness is typically associated with for forgiving others for what they've done to us, people who have wronged us and put us in messed up situations. And if you ask someone that's older or somebody, a elder, right? They would typically, if you ask them like, why should I forgive? They would typically, at least in my experience, they would say, because it's the right thing to do. It's the godly thing to do, because God forgives you. And being a full adult now, I wish there was more context to that when I was growing up. I need my water. Hold on. I wish there was more context to that when I was growing up, because I don't want to minimize that we should be forgiving because God says we should and it's the godly thing to do. Because it is in the Bible. It is in the Bible. I just wish there was more context to it. Because the Bible, it has mentioned several times in both the Old Testament and the New Testament about forgiveness. Mark 11, it says, but when you are praying, first forgive anyone you are holding a grudge against, so that your Father in heaven will forgive your sins too. Ephesians 4:32 says, instead, be kind to each other, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, just as God, through Christ, has forgiven you. And I understand all of that, right? But I want to add more context and perspective to that, because when we hold grudges, when we hold pain, when we hold negative energy, when we hold malice in our heart towards individual people that have done us wrong, when we hold all of that stuff in, guess what? It impacts you more than anything. When you hold all of that in, it impacts you. It impacts you with sickness, diseases, some type of physical ailment. It impacts your mental health, emotional distress, anxiety, depression. The list goes on, right? When we let this thing live in us that has caused us some type of pain and we're holding on to grudges and hurt and this negative energy, right? When that lives in us, it hurts you. It hurts you more than anything. So, while I don't want to minimize the reason of forgiving and that it's the godly thing to do, I believe that God, or in the God in us, will be like, wait up, hold on, wait a minute, wait a minute. When you are forgiving, you also need to start with yourself. And you need to know your why, right? You have to let things go. Those things that are living in us, the grudge, the anger, the madness, because somebody has done us wrong. You have to be able to let those things go so you can live with a tender heart. So you can be intentional about your mental health and your physical health, right? So I want to say, when you are thinking about forgiveness, know that you are the main person, the main beneficiary of forgiveness, of the gift forgiveness. Okay? Um, my grandmother, she used to always, when I had to apologize for something, she used to always ask me, Tamekia, why are you apologizing? Because if I didn't know my why, believe it or not, I was not allowed to apologize. So she used to always ask me, why are you apologizing? If you don't know why you're apologizing, you go and think about it. So it makes me want to ask you, why are you forgiving? Why are you operating in the spirit of forgiveness? I want you to know your why. All right. In my opinion, is counterproductive to forgive if you don't understand the why behind it. And I want to make sure I give you a few reasons why it's important to learn the gift of forgiveness. Okay. Because as I said before, growing up, being a young adult, I really wish there was more context to it and more self focus on the reasons of forgiving that is more about you than the other person in the situation, and how freeing it can be when you operate in the spirit of forgiving. So I want to make sure that you know, um, and make sure that your sister friends know that it is always our goal to operate in the best versions of ourselves, right? It is always our goal to be growing. And it's always a work in progress, right? So knowing why you are forgiving and operating in the spirit of forgiveness, and don't get me wrong, I am not saying that is easy, that it's not work or any of that, because it is. But you have to know that you release yourself from so much when you can operate in the spirit of forgiveness. So I want to give you a couple reasons why you should be operating in the spirit of forgiveness and learning how to operate in the spirit of forgiveness. And then I'm gonna let you go. As you operate in the spirit of forgiveness, I also want to make sure that you know that because you forgive a person, a situation, or people, it does not mean that you are excusing the behaviors, the actions that happen to you. It does not mean that you are weak. In fact, it actually means that you have gotten to a space of growth. Okay, so let's jump right into it about operating in the spirit of forgiveness and why this is such a gift and why you are the main beneficiary, right? Number one, you get to reclaim your power. You get to reclaim your power when you forgive an individual, people. You are no longer being controlled, and you regain your power because you are no longer being controlled or occupied by this particular situation, right? It no longer controls you. So you get to reclaim your power. Number two, forgiveness is truly about letting shit go. Letting it go. Again, not letting it operate, not letting it occupy, not letting it occupy any space, any of your space, right? When you don't let it occupy any of your space, you offer opportunities for other things that you prefer to be in that space, right? You get to choose. You get to make that decision. So letting it go and not allowing it to no longer operate in your space. Number three, you get to reclaim your peace. Listen, there is no price on peace of mind. There's no price on it. And that is one of the main benefits of being able to be like, you know what? I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to forgive this because I need to create space to reclaim my peace, right? Number four, it opens opportunities. When you are able to move in the spirit of forgiveness, it's a certain light that shines. It is a certain light that shines in letting that bondage, that grudge, that pain, and that negative energy go. It opens opportunities for you to receive what is for you, the things that's going to help you be better, help you grow, and to help you continue to move in forgiveness. Right. Number five, it releases you from your own guilt, right? A lot of us, we are moving in this life's journey, and we still carry a lot of guilt for whatever the reasons are and situations that may have happened. But when you are able to move in the spirit of forgiveness, it releases you and allows you to release yourself from your own guilt. Number six, again, no longer being in that bondage and controlled by what happened, right? And it doesn't mean that you won't have triggers. Don't confuse that with triggers, because there are going to be certain experiences that may happen to where you may get triggered. And triggered is simply meaning like that you acknowledge and that you are aware, right? And this thing has bothered you, but is no longer keeping you captive. So I don't want you to get that confused with triggers, because those are totally two different things. But number six is no longer being in bondage or in control, or controlled by what happened. Number seven, emotional growth. You know, it is rewarding and freeing when you can respond to people, maybe even be in the same room with people that has hurt you, put you in certain situations, um, and truly be unbothered. Truly be unbothered. I tell you, when I say that emotional growth is rewarding, it is so rewarding. It is so rewarding. So those are just a few tips of why, in my opinion, that I think that an individual should operate in the spirit of forgiveness and understand the gift of forgiveness is more about you than the other person or situation. The bigger picture is you. You want to make sure that you clear a path and that you are operating to be your best self, physically, mentally, and emotionally, right? And spiritually. And spiritually. You want to make sure that you are operating in that path. And to do so, forgiveness, that gift of forgiveness, is a part of that. So I just wanted to drop a couple tips of why forgiveness is a gift. And I want you to remember that it is all about you. It is truly all about you. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And if I'm honest, as I said before, that I wish when I was younger, it was more context put to it. This is what we really should be telling our younger girls, right? Why they should be operating in the spirit of forgiveness, and kind of teaching them that emotional growth piece, and that is not necessarily about the other person or the situation, but it's more about them. So those are the tips about operating in and understanding the gift of forgiveness. Before we close, I am going to ask you our wrap up question. And that wrap up question is, what do you love about yourself? What do you love about yourself? I want you to take time, think about it, and write the answer down about what you love about yourself. Remember, I am your girl, Tamekia. If you are ever looking for me, you could definitely find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, YouTube at Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia. I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye.